Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Karam, board certified facial plastic surgeon and founder and creator of Karam MD Skin. I specialize in facial rejuvenation, which basically means I help people look as young as they feel. And on today's episode of Skin School, we're going to talk about a very interesting and very popular topic, and that is pores. Why do they happen? What are they? And what kind of skincare products can you use to help minimize them? The answer is going to surprise you. And also, what treatments, generally speaking, are not going to do anything for pores? And for a lot of people, this is a big deal. They really want to find solutions for minimizing pores and ultimately, finding a way to have a more even skin palette with less ... from pores. So let's break it down and let's understand this. So here's what it comes down to, and I think a lot of people don't really know what a pore is. So in the skin, you've got two types of glands. You've got the sweat glands and you've got the oil glands. The oil glands produce a product called sebum. Now, when the skin is young, you've got a firm, thick dermis. You've got the glands sitting at the middle of this dermis, as you can see in the anatomy outline here. And then what ends up happening is there's a channel that goes from the gland all the way to the surface of the skin. We all have them. They're the same number whether we're young or old. The oil glands have a different function than the sweat glands. Sweat glands, obviously, when our body temperature goes up, sweat is produced, cools the surface of the skin, cools our body temperature down. That's our mechanism, right? So sweat glands and oil glands. Same number from young till we're older. However, what happens? When we get older, the channels that are leading to the surface of the skin can become dilated. They become thickened and widened. Why does that happen? Well, number one, it can happen from mechanical reasons, meaning the skin bends, right? As we age, we all see what older skin looks like. It becomes thin, it becomes non-supple, it loses that kind of like fullness and plumpness. You can imagine a very thin channel going from the middle of the skin all the way to the surface. If there's like some bending, a wrinkle, a crepiness, an excess, whatever, those little pores are gonna mechanically get clogged up. That's one. But probably the more common scenario is the surface outlet of the skin, and where those pore channels lead to the external skin, they get clogged up. They could get clogged up because of sebum down through the center of the gland, or it could be at the surface. It's just not able to excrete. So what ends up happening is the pore gets dilated, and when you're looking at somebody's skin, you see all these little dots on their skin, little black dots. That is a dilated pore that usually is clogged up. So the typical situation is you've got all these clogged up pores, and you go into an esthetician, and they sit there and they do these different things to basically unclog the pores, release the sebum, release the clog in there. Now, part of the reason it can get clogged is the surface can be dirty. It could be dead skin layers on top of it, which happens as we age. It also is just, a gland produces a lot of oil. It's more likely to clog up, given any of these scenarios that we just mentioned. So people with oily skin tend to see this a little bit more commonly. Now, you're asking yourself, all right, well, now I kind of understand why these pores exist in the first place, what a pore is. But you're like, okay, what do we do about it? Let me first start off with what you don't do about it. I can't tell you how many times I have been asked over the years, doctor, how's a chemical peel? I hear chemical peels are great for pores. Oh, this laser, Fraxel or Active Effects, Profractional, contour laser, great for pores. I've heard it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, the last thing it's gonna do is improve your pores, right? I mean, all the things we just talked about doesn't help with pores, right? So what are those things doing? Those are basically like they're resurfacing your skin, they're taking off, a layer of dead stuff off your skin, which is nice. I mean, it's good for skin health in general, but it's not going to unclog, or it's not going to improve the relationship that those pores have with the skin, and therefore leading to dilation, etc. So lasers, chemical peels, etc., do nothing for pores. Sad to say. I mean, it would be nice if you could just go in and have a treatment like that. What about facials and things like that? Well, they're good for immediate, right? I mean, as I mentioned, you're unclogging them, you're releasing, you can see the stuff. There's videos of people pressing on the pores and all this kind of like white stuff comes flowing out of them. Well, that's cool, that's sort of unclogging them in the moment. But what happens tomorrow and the day after? What keeps it from getting to that point again and again and again. I mean, yeah, I guess you could go in all the time and go through that process, but that's a lot to go through, and most people can't either afford it or don't, have the time and energy to do that kind of thing. So treatments like that aren't going to take care of it. Lasers, mechanical expression isn't going to do it. But what do you do when you have oily skin? I mean, what's the alternative? Like, you have oily skin, so what are you going to do? How do you decrease the oil production of your skin? Well, I'm going to explain that to you in a second. So here's what it comes down to. Let's kind of start backwards, right? We know the sources that's causing it. Now let's get at the root cause. Believe it or not, one of the most powerful ways of decreasing oil production in somebody who has oily skin is by adding oil to their skin. Think about this for a second. This is kind of a mind bend, right? So you've got natural oil production, and you have to say, well, why is the skin producing extra oil? Well, sometimes skin produces extra oil because it's trying to take care of dryness of the skin, and so it actually upregulates the production. Skin that's not hydrated, skin that's aging, skin that's sometimes just, improperly clean, like all these situations can, and again, some of it could be just intrinsic and genetic, but at the end of the day, the production of oil can be decreased by the addition of external oil to the skin. So things like squalene, like in the trifecta, for example, in Illuminate, we actually have a lipid complex, which has like 4 different types of oils that are added to the skin. So we make this point that it doesn't matter if you have dry skin or oily skin, you're getting oil, because if you have dry skin, it's going to help your skin. If you have oily skin, it's going to help your skin. The net result is that oily skin becomes less oily, dry skin becomes more oily, and at the end you have skin that looks the way it should. It's like a balancing effect. So adding oil actually can help with the decreased production of oil coming out of your sebaceous glands. Now, you're decreasing it at the root cause by doing that. Then what do you do? Well, number one, you want to release the surface. So exfoliation treatments are very helpful, right? Removing all that dead stuff off the skin. Whether you go in, you have mechanical dermabrasion, whether you have a light chemical peel, whether you use polish, which is one of our products, that it's an at-home treatment that digests the dead stuff off the skin. One way or the other, you want to get this stuff off your skin, right? So you get it off, the surface is clear now. Then it comes down to cleaning your skin, right? So step number 3, cleaning your skin. You gotta clean that skin twice a day, because overnight, the skin does continue to produce some oil. It builds onto the skin, especially if you have a naturally oily skin. It builds a little bit, and as a result, you're susceptible to going off, all day long and playing around in the out, some sports or whatever, get some sweat on it, some dirt on it, whatever, and now all of a sudden it traps all that stuff in and the pore clogs up, leading to a dilated pore. Same thing happens at nighttime. All day long you've been doing stuff, and then if you don't wash your face at night, you're not clearing it, you're setting yourself up, because your skin might produce more oil. Now it's sitting up against like a clog, and it does this and it dilates. So washing your skin twice a day is essential. And you gotta use a very gentle, non-foaming, non-abrasive cleanser. One of the ones that we developed it's called Rinse. It's a gel, very minimal foaming, very soothing, very soft, but it's also anti-inflammatory. So that decreases, because if you think about if your skin surface is swollen, pores can dial up. So we use components like aloe, we use things like Arnica montana, amino acids, a lot of different sort of things that are done to the skin in the cleansing process that actually calm the skin, decrease inflammation, cleanse the skin, therefore allowing the pores to effectively flow and breathe. So that's number 3. Then the other aspect of it is the structural stuff that we just talked about. You want to make sure that that skin is as supple as it could possibly be. So well-hydrated skin is very important to hydrate the skin properly. And that's where hyaluronic acid and things like that come into play. Again, this is part of several of our products. Hyaluronic acid draws water into the skin dermis, causing the skin to swell up. Swelling up the skin makes the skin supple. When it's supple, the lines, those channels are going to be much more physically open and straight, allowing the flow of sebum to come out unobstructed with a kink in the pore channel. So those are some basic sort of things. Now, you do this consistently over time, literally consistently over time, washing your skin regularly, adding the proper essential oils to the skin, improving the hydration and the suppleness of the skin, exfoliating the surface of the skin, Slowly but surely, what ends up happening is as the pores clear, new ones that are open are gonna remain open and they're gonna shrink. That's the whole physiology and anatomy behind pores. And I think we have gotten way too used to trying things that are like instant gratification oriented, like big lasers, this, that, like pick at them, do this. But that's not treating the root problem. What I just went through right now is the root problem, the root causes, the way to ideally and optimally manage pores and keep that skin free of them as much as possible over time. And what's interesting is, and I'm just gonna speak specifically to our product, the Trifecta, because it's the only one I have like direct experience with people who've been using it for a year and a half. One of the first things that people mention after they've been using it for several months is that their pores get smaller. And that's not something I necessarily intended, to do when I formulated. It sort of in a way kind of happened like as a fortunate accident, because all these other things that I just mentioned were part of the system, and the net effect is that it had it. So afterwards, when I'm hearing this, I'm learning more and researching more and trying to understand the mechanisms and the mechanics of pore dilation and formation in the first place. And I realized, it makes sense that they're seeing improvements in it, and that we've done studies that show the pores have gotten better, etc. It makes sense now because of these factors that we just mentioned. So guys, I hope this helps. One of the biggest takeaway points when it comes to skin is, number one, sun protection is huge. Because even like, as I mentioned, dehydration and the changes that are happening to the structure, that starts with sun. I mean, sun dehydrates the skin, sun causes loss of collagen, all that kind of stuff. So, you're pumping it up with hyaluronic acid, but if you're not decreasing the loss with sun breakdown of collagen, and then you're also doing some good solid skincare in addition to it, like using retinols and vitamin C's and niacinamides and things like that are stimulating building of collagen. As time goes on, month after month, year after year, and you're doing the cleansing, you're doing the exfoliation, you're doing the oils and all that good stuff, what you're gonna see is the skin will just keep getting younger and younger and younger and younger. And too many times people think that they need to see results in 2 weeks or a month, and then if they don't see like the most amazing results, they're off. Well, when would you ever see that in anything in life? You're not gonna get rich in a month. You're not gonna lose all the weight in a month. You're not gonna have the best body in a month. You're not gonna learn everything in a month. Like, there's nothing in life that happens quickly that is good, right? All of it is like slow process over time. Skin and skin aging, defying skin aging is exactly that. It's like doing the right stuff consistently over time and you will be rewarded. And that was really the whole principle and premise of developing the Trifecta for me, was to help people with a simple enough system where they could do it regularly and get into the habitual process of consistency so they can see those results. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing. But take this information, apply it. If pores are bothering you, give it a roll, give it 6 months. You'll start to see things get better, better, better month after month, and you can really kind of manage the situation this way. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, this video. If you did, hit like. If you're not a subscriber already, make sure you subscribe. We've got tons of videos on excellent topics related to facial rejuvenation and skin rejuvenation. This is our Skin School series, which is all about skin. We also have a Karam MD journal, which is a newsletter you sign up for, which gives you instant information in your inbox that I write those newsletter and blog articles. You really should sign up for that. It's awesome stuff. I put a lot of energy into those. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And most importantly, folks, share this with some friends. Help enlighten and empower each other so you guys can all make good decisions and ultimately be efficient and effective with your time and energy when it comes to looking as young as you feel. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, Dr. Karam.